much. Thank you for bearing with our technical difficulties. I will call to order the Monday, June 7th, 2021 board meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Ms. Cruz?
Present.
Mrs. Dempsey?
Present.
Ms. Fox?
Present.
Ms. Hume?
Present.
Mr. Malloy?
Present.
Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mrs. Welby?
Present.
Mrs. Yanni?
Present.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Present.
9 present.
And this evening, we have the pleasure of our new teacher induction, Mrs. Mead.
Hi, I'm Holly Mead, the local site coordinator for our new teacher induction program, and I am thrilled to present you the new teacher induction class of the 2020-21 school year. These new teachers entered education in an unprecedented year. Many of them never even set foot into their classrooms until April. They worked tirelessly to plan lessons, build connections with families, engage students, and made home visits and countless phone calls, all in an effort to educate their students during the pandemic. These teachers truly went above and beyond any induction class that we've ever had. They were led through this extraordinary year by our two wonderful Foundation 1 instructors, Amy Beebe and Pat Festa. Please stand. Mr. Festa and Mrs. Beebe teach them each month, and they meet together and provide academic support, emotional support, anything that they need to get through their school year. So they did an outstanding job. Truly, these two held their hands, instructed, inspired, and led them to where they are today. Each new teacher also is assigned a mentor to assist them in every way possible. They truly provide that one-on-one attention that every new teacher needs. I cannot say enough about these professionals, and I want to thank you all. Please stand if you were a mentor or teacher this year. Congratulations to these outstanding Scranton School District teachers. We couldn't be more proud of you and this awesome accomplishment. And now, Mrs. Gilmartin, would you like to present them with their certificates?
Absolutely. Mrs. McTiernan has your certificates at the front, and I will call your names. And Mrs. Mead, we'd like everyone to remain at the front for a photograph when we're done, correct? Jennifer Kalor, mentor teacher Matt Foley. Corinne Devereaux, mentor teacher Angela Stefani. Alyssa Gambo, mentor teacher Chris Walker. Stephanie Giancini, mentor teacher Christina Nasser. Brita Holmes, mentor teacher Teresa Roach. Cassandra Merrill, mentor teacher Holly Skikiti. Gabriella Nasi, mentor teacher Geraldine Versakauskas. Janelle Nestrick, mentor teacher Margaret Walsh. Erin Scanlon, mentor teacher Marissa Byron. Nicole Sinclair, mentor teacher Maggie Lockney. Vigil, mentor teacher Carlene Seco. And we have a few who were not able to be with us this evening. Justin Beachaver, mentor teacher Tim McHale, Lindsay Humanic, mentor teacher Jennifer Scott, Erica Maxon, mentor teacher Maureen Walsh, Dominic Mazza, mentor teacher Suzanne Widener, Erin Van Duzen, mentor teacher Ann Nicastro, and Mariah Wigaleski, mentor teacher Nicole Schaefer. Thank you all so much, and congratulations. And Mrs. Mead, are you hoping everyone comes forward for a photograph?
If we could have all the new teachers and Mr. Festa and Mrs. Beebe come up so we could take a picture with Mrs. McTiernan, that would be awesome. Thank you. There's also a little video that just went out about 7 minutes ago, so I will get it to the district and hopefully we can push it out, of each teacher and a quote about their year. It's really beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Holly. Do we have any items to remove from the consent agenda?
Katie, before we begin, I'm getting some reports that they can't hear on YouTube. Live.
Can't hear on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. Can anybody, do we have anybody out there who can look into that, please? Hopefully that will improve. If you get any other information, please let us know.
Director Gilmartin, I think I'd like to wait until we
Okay.
have clarification
Oh,
that
sure.
the volume is corrected.
Okay.
I'm hearing we're good.
Jimmy, did you just say we're good?
Well, even my mother agrees, so.
I'm sorry, what?
There's plenty of volume
On YouTube?
on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay, so are we good to go?
We're going all right.
All right.
How do we,
It's here.
can we
Is there someone outside that could
verify that? in any
verify
way?
that through their telephone?
I can hear it on mine.
You can hear it on
You can
yours,
hear it there
Jimmy?
now?
Okay, then we're fine to go.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Okay, well, I even heard you on delay over there, so I think we are fine to go then. That's a good sign. And do we have something to
Yes.
remove from the consent
Did you
agenda?
want to, yes, if you
Yes.
could pull E1 from the consent agenda, the motion to approve the use of Scranton High School field.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended, please?
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion, the agenda is approved. Communications to the board, executive, I'm sorry, I was just going to take your job there.
Communications to the board. Executive sessions were held on May 24th, 2021, and this evening to discuss personnel, negotiations, real estate, and litigation.
Thank you, Mrs. Orr. Solicitors report, Attorney Audi.
I have no report this evening, Director Gilmartin.
Superintendent's report, Mrs. McTiernan.
Thank you, Director Gilmartin, and good evening, everyone. I have some, I think, positive announcements to make tonight. I am happy to report that 628 students have signed up for our summer academy, 566 elementary students, 40 intermediate students, and 22 high school students. Thank you also to the staff who is willing to work at the academy this summer, especially after this year, which has been very challenging. I am also very happy to announce U.S. News and World Report prepares a report on best high schools. West Scranton High School was mentioned among the top 10 high schools in the Scranton area, which includes Lackawanna, Wyoming, and Luzerne counties. According to the report and printed in a recent news article, for local rankings, West Scranton High School came in 8th place. Congratulations to the administration, faculty, staff, and especially our students for that recognition. Congratulations to our West Scranton High School softball team. I was there today, it was awesome. Our girls defeated Abington last week to win the first ever district championship in school history. Today they played in the first round of the state tournament. Our girls won 6-2 and will move on in the state tournament. I believe it will be Thursday. I did not get all of the details, but we can't wait. I can't wait. I hope I'm able to go to that game also. This past week, John Sinclair, a senior honors student and class officer at West Scranton High School, was named the Lackawanna League Tennis Class 3A Player of the Year. John was also selected as 2021 All-Region Tennis All-Star. Congratulations to John and to his family. 2 senior honors students at Scranton High School, Sarah McCormick and Margaret Campbell, were selected as Scholastic Superstars by the Scranton Times. Both are exceptional students that are involved in many extracurricular and community events, and I want to thank them both for recognizing and being part of making that is a big deal, a really big deal, and a big honor. And I know Sarah McCormack's parents. I do not know the other student, but I want to thank them because when I pick up the paper and I see those students in the Times, I'm so proud, and they are truly stewards for our district. So thank you to their teachers who put in so much work with them, and thank you to both of them for putting in so much work to really be stewards for our district. And I just can't tell you how exceptional it is and what they represent. So that's the reason why I got into education. And I'm just so happy. I'm lost for words to be honest with you. I'm going to move on. Yes. Sorry to both of them. I didn't give that justice, but I think you all know that means I'm really proud of them. Congratulations to Scranton High School honor student Corey Kruk. In addition to his upcoming graduation at Scranton High, this is really awesome too. Corey has recently graduated from Lackawanna College with an associate degree in criminal justice. Corey achieved this accomplishment by taking advantage of Lackawanna College Level Up program for our high school students. So Corey not only fulfilled his obligations at Scranton High School, but it will also come out with an associate's degree from Lackawanna College. So that's pretty awesome. And I noticed that Mrs. Katona Miller is here tonight, so I'm not going to, but I'm not going to recognize the students. I'm going to allow her to do that. But she will be recognizing the unbelievable accomplishments of our PGAS students. So what I'm going to do is recognize you, Ms. Miller, and I'm going to recognize Mrs. D'Antona for all of the time and effort that you put in. I had the what I would say, I was the lucky one, because you, along with a couple other teachers here, were, taught for me at South. And you are, what you do for our kids is unbelievable. So I want to say thank you. And Mrs. D'Antona, thank you. But what you accomplish year after year at that competition is second to none. So thanks. And lastly, on our SSD webpage, we posted a frequently asked question document related to ESSER funds, which we are getting a lot of questions about. The document provides, it is quite lengthy, but it provides great information for anyone interested in learning more about the funding and guidelines on how districts can use the funds. In order to locate this document, please go to, again, our scrsd.org main webpage, go to the community section, and then there's an ESSER FAQ that you can click on. And I believe it's about 61 pages, but it does have great information on it. And I believe that is all I have tonight, so thanks everybody. And again, thank you to all of our new teachers, and I appreciate the fact that we're going through a really difficult time and you're willing to stay with the district. And I promise you that there are better days ahead. Thanks.
Well, Director Dempsey, I'm sorry you have to follow that with your PSBA report, but
Yeah,
it's a lot to live up to.
well, I'm not going to do well, so thank you, Director Gilmartin. Unfortunately, I'm going to start off with some bad news. The State Senate Education Committee met and voted today 6-5 to double the amount of tax credits available to fund scholarships for students attending private schools or transfer out of poorly performing schools. So this is the state voucher program. It's known as Senate Bill 1. So it did pass the Senate Education Committee today and will move to the General Assembly. This Senate Bill 1 would increase the amount of funds available for the educational improvement tax credits, which provides scholarships for students to attend private schools. It'll increase from $185 million to $300 million, and it would increase the amount available for the Opportunity Scholarship tax credits, which provides scholarships for students to transfer from one of the 385 schools in Pennsylvania designated as low performing to other public schools or private schools, approximately $55 million to $100 million. So again, this did pass by a vote of 6-5 today. The Senate Education Committee, Senator Scott Martin from Lancaster is the sponsor, the bill sponsor, so it will move to General Assembly. So please contact your legislators to fight Senate Bill 1. Sorry, that didn't start out very well, but the House Education Committee is holding their hearing on students experiencing homelessness. So on Wednesday, May 19th, the House Education and Labor Committee Subcommittee on Early Childhood, Elementary, and Secondary Education held a hearing titled Picking Up the Pieces, Strengthening Connections with Students Experiencing Homelessness and Children in Foster Care. The hearing focused on the issues impacting nearly 1.3 million students experiencing homelessness during the most recent school year, and particularly how recent aid packages can better serve this portion of the student population. Proposals for the 2022 legislative platform are now being accepted through July 23rd. The window's open for school boards to submit proposals for consideration for PSBA's 2022 legislative platform. While the process to submit items is still the same, this year the deadlines are changed to give boards additional time as they work through the end of academic and fiscal year activities. The window to submit platform proposals to PSBA is July 23rd. Delegate assembly will be offered as a hybrid meeting. Not as big of news, but the assembly will meet on Saturday, October 23rd this year at 9 a.m. at PSBA headquarters in Mechanicsburg. Again, ask your House member to sign the Representative Rosemary Brown's. She's trying to introduce charter special education funding bill. She'll be introducing charter reform legislation, which would apply the same special education funding principles used to distribute state special education funding to school districts in the calculation used to determine a school district's tuition payment for a special education student enrolled in a charter school. PSBA is asking that we push our House members to sign as a co-sponsor to Representative Brown's critically important charter funding reform legislation. Lastly, PSBA released their charter school task force report. As you can see, the PSBA is really pushing charter school reform. So in May, they've released this multi-year effort to study the issues related to charter reform and develop a set of recommendations including potential legislative updates to the charter school law. PSBA believes that implementing the recommendations will improve the charter school landscape by assuring accountability and transparency, saving taxpayers resources, and ensuring taxpayers are aware of how their public education dollars are being spent. And lastly, the application for emergency connectivity funds, which we did touch on at the work session, will open this month. There's a 45-day application window for schools and libraries to request funding for laptops, tablets, Wi-Fi hotspots, air cards, modems, and wired and wireless internet access. That will be purchased from July 1 of this year to June 30th of next year. That is all I have.
Thank you very much. And I think there are probably some resources available about advocacy against SB1. I know a lot of things came forward in the last couple of days, so maybe we can get some things up on Facebook or on the website. Thank you very much. At this time, we will entertain public comment. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Union officials will be allowed 4 minutes. As always, I will ask that you maintain decorum and utilize integrity, courtesy, equity, and humanity in your comments. Mrs. Orr?
Yes, our first speaker is Holly Mead.
Can you hear me now? Okay, there you go.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. I'm gonna leave my mask on because we leave it on all day and it's hard to hear the kids sometimes, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Earlier tonight, I presented 17 new teachers who completed induction tonight. I honestly wish you could see them in action. They really are truly remarkable. Sadly, I'm not sure how many of them will be with us next school year. There's been a mass exodus of staff from this district. It began with our paraprofessionals who seem to be expendable in the middle of a pandemic. It continues month after month, resignations from our outstanding teachers. And finally, the pattern has even reached the administrators. We are losing one after another. Our administrators know that in order to provide a high-quality education in their schools, you need to have high-quality educators to deliver that instruction. I have commented about retaining teachers and attracting teachers of color, but by having the lowest starting salary in Northeast PA since 2016, who are we really going to attract? Shame on you, who sat at that equity meeting saying that we needed teachers of color, but you did nothing to raise the starting salary to attract those young teachers of color? Unfortunately, we will attract many teachers who were not hired elsewhere, or fill the positions again with long-term substitutes, causing our students to suffer again. I'm glad you brought up the ESSER's frequently asked questions bulletin. I was going to talk about it just now. If you go to page 46 and 47 of that bulletin, ESSER and GEAR funds may be used to hire new staff and to avoid staff layoffs. The LEA may contract with daycare providers to make spaces available for teachers with young children whose regular daycare services are unavailable due to COVID-19 pandemic, so that those teachers can continue to provide educational services to students. An LEA might also provide a retention incentive to teachers with young children that could offset the cost for childcare in order to retain those teachers, which is allowable use of funds under Part A, Title II of the ESEA, if teacher retention is a challenge due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I would consider the mass exodus of the Scranton School District staff a challenge due to the pandemic. The ESSER's money is to be spent on our students and to help retain our staff, not on a whim of our outside consultants. For example, we may be purchasing 181 bipolar ionization units that may generate harmful byproducts according to the EPA. I am by no means an expert, but I would assume our solicitor would advise against a purchase of any device that could cause harm to our students. So how does retaining these first-year teachers and the ESSER's funding connect? It's easy. Spend it where you know the educational impact will be seen, on good, high-quality teachers. Please don't spend it with the Scranton Times on newspaper ads to solve the contract. As a professional educator on step 13, that was uncalled for and unkind to all of us who serve this district daily. Dig into the details. The money is there. You are just being led blindly by our solicitor when your eyes should be wide open to the students, families, and staff of this district.
Next, we have Frances Regan.
Good evening. My name is Frances Regan, and I'm a proud member of the SFT Executive Board. I'm here again asking you to keep Bancroft open until you develop a comprehensive plan on what schools you are closing. At the Operations Committee meeting last week, some directors said they would like to keep Bancroft open, with the students remaining at Tripp until such a plan can be made by all of you on what the footprint of the district would look like. I know on page 214 of the recovery plan, it gives you the right to look at the data and make the plan under FO3 of the recovery plan, which is the same one mentioned on January 5th at the first Bancroft meeting. Last week you asked what would happen if a class went over 27 students next year at Bancroft. Well, just like this year, the kindergarten class at Bancroft had 45 students registered throughout the school year, but I could only teach 27 of those. So the other 18 were assigned to Adams and Armstrong. I've been told the district has been doing this at other schools, so I see no reason why the district wouldn't do this with the classes next year with Bancroft at Tripp. They would simply put those students in the open seats at Tripp, thus not incurring the district any money at all while you develop the comprehensive plan. I realize Dr. Fining wants to cut the footprint for the district, and since you can't use the administration building due to a lack of ventilation system, then why not move to immediately put it on the market and lower the footprint? After that, why not look at stop paying rent on the Electric City Academy and save $500,000 and again lower the footprint? The administration building's various departments and their staffs can be relocated to schools to absorb all the capacity that is shown in the draft of the feasibility study. I read the draft feasibility study, and it shows other schools requiring a great deal more money to fix than Bancroft. I saw 78% capacity at Bancroft, still higher than other elementary schools. But with a new housing development being built right down the street, that could give Bancroft 100% capacity. When I look at the Bancroft data, I see a school that has been getting the job done in terms of showing growth for all their students. So for the last time I ask you, why close Bancroft School? After all, the school district is in the business of educating students, not making money. So please use your one vote to make sure it counts for the best possible comprehensive plan for the Scranton School District. Because if you don't amend the recovery plan, soon all the city of Scranton will be left with is a district with no schools on the north side of the city, no busing for students who are truly walking unsafe routes, not enough teachers to open the schools, and higher taxes for the city residents, which could equal 25% or more over the next 5 years. So once again, please use your one vote to make sure it counts by keeping Bancroft School open while you develop the comprehensive plan to lower the footprint of the district. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Patricia Carr.
Good evening, board members and administrators of the Scranton School District. I disagree with the last best final offer that was presented to the teachers of the school district for many reasons. I'd like to speak to 2 points. The teachers are already covering for other instructors daily because we need to hire numerous teachers to replace those who have resigned to accept other jobs in neighboring districts. There is a reason there are no names left on that list of available substitutes. I'm looking forward to seeing the list of new hires that the financial investment in frontline recruiting and hiring system will miraculously create. I really don't think many highly qualified teachers will submit their resume and applications to the Scranton School District. What was proposed for your last best offer was truly insulting. It provides another excuse to never hire another substitute teacher. The one prep period most teachers count on each day to call parents, create our teaching plans, correct tests, or even use the restrooms will be gone. Yes, the district will save money by not paying teachers who will be required to cover for their absent colleagues. The teacher who needed the day off will be charged the day, but no one else will be paid for that day's extra work. Yes, my colleagues and I will still get our work done if our prep period is taken away from us, We all get our work done during our lunch or at home after the business day has ended, because that's what we do. We get our job done. Secondly, ELAP is not a health insurance. Right now, I know what it will cost when I visit my doctors in Scranton, Dixon City, and even New York City. That is important to me. As I've mentioned before, I have multiple sclerosis since 1987. My health insurance is of the utmost importance to me. When I was initially going through testing to determine why I was experiencing severe change in my vision, my neurologist ordered an MRI for me. My insurance company at the time denied the test. I'm glad I knew that they wouldn't pay for the test before it was administered, not after. Fortunately, I was able to have the MRI without participating with my insurance company. This past Friday, while reading an article in the local newspaper, I read a quote from Director Gilmartin, noting that her hopes that we can work together and focus on the future. I'm worried about my future if you call ELAP my health insurance. I've done my research. I know my doctors do not participate with the ELAP service. Personally, I do not think negotiating after a business transaction is complete is a sound business decision. On the final note, I'd like to congratulate the graduates of the ER&D induction program. Welcome to the SSD. We are thrilled to have you. If you need help, you have a lot of colleagues you can call on to help you out. Thank you.
Next, we have Rita Holmes.
It's always good when the new teacher comes up to speak. My name is Brita Holmes. I am a Southside resident, a mother of 2 young children who will be in the SSD in September if the buildings are open, a graduate of Scranton High School class of 2000, and a 6th grade English teacher at West Intermediate. I teach my students that their words are powerful and to use them often, so tonight I will use mine. I spent most of my adult life to this point in the health insurance industry. I was a client service executive at a health insurance giant before teaching. So let me assure you, teachers do not enter this field for the money. We enter it because it's a calling. That doesn't mean we shouldn't get paid though. My experience in health insurance gives me a unique perspective. I oversaw claims and service for several large national employers, so I've seen claims up close, and I know how the pricing and processing works. I know the type of outfit that ELAP is, and it's not insurance. Let me say that again. ELAP is not insurance. You can tell the paper that it is equal or better or whatever language you need to fall back on, but let me break this down so the actual people impacted will understand. You have a procedure with your doctor. It costs $10,000. You get a bill and you submit it to ELAP. ELAP says, no, we're going to give them $1,000. Your doctor obviously refuses to accept the low offer. The doctor still needs to get paid, so you get billed $10,000. ELAP can't do a thing about this because there is no contract between ELAP and the doctor. You can't be out of network if there is no network. You can't be in network if there is no network. You call ELAP again and again, and finally they send a letter to the doctor with a law office letterhead. And in the medical and insurance industry, that's about as intimidating as receiving a letter from Mickey Mouse. Anyway, eventually, your doctor gets tired of this and won't see you anymore, unless you pay the full cost of services up front and you pay down your $10,000 balance. The doctor has no incentive to negotiate with ELAP. ELAP's website, which is unapologetic in its lack of focus on the member, states monetary savings for the employers, but never once mentions what happens to the members. There is no focus on health or preventive care. It's all about the money the employers can retain by playing hardball with the healthcare providers, your healthcare providers. They try to make it seem like the doctors and hospitals write off the balance. Let me make this clear. Doctors and hospitals never write off the balance. Oh, and that $10,000? It's in collections and on your credit report. And that doesn't affect ELAP. That affects you and your family. I urge my fellow teachers to contact your doctor's office and ask them about ELAP. Not only will this organization destroy your healthcare benefits as you know them, but it can destroy your credit, parts of your life, and ultimately your overall health. Thank you.
Next, we have Adam McCormick.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adam McCormick. I'm a teacher in the Scranton School District, member of the SFT. I want to just practice a thought experiment quickly before I really get into it. But if we're to create an education system out of thin air, okay, we have students that need to be educated. The first thing that you would think to create would be teachers. And yet, for some reason, that seems like the last thing that many people on this stage think about. And I understand there's other people that we need to consider and things like that, but if you were to create it out of thin air, teachers would be the most important thing if you're trying to educate kids. All right, but I'm going to talk mostly about the offer. In the paper and on social media is not to inform the teachers about anything. That's to do one thing and one thing only, in my opinion. That's to sow distrust to the public. That's why you paid for an advertisement. That's why you put it on social media, because you know that we get it, okay? Our negotiating team will provide us with that information, so there's no need to put it in the paper. You put it in the paper to sow distrust, a trust that is critical to our goal of educating students. We need the families, we need the students, the taxpayers to trust that we're doing the job that we need to do in order to educate. So please keep that in mind. As a matter of fact, to me personally, I've mentioned it before, I came back here to teach because I love the city that I live. I love the school district. I love the people I work with. I love the kids I teach. But to be completely honest, the paper and social media aspect of that offer was more insulting to me than the offer itself, which is really saying something. Let's talk about the offer. 1 year of service for 1 year of service credited for 4 years of service. Okay, so keep that in mind. Health insurance traded for not health insurance. I'm not even going to go further into it. I think that was covered pretty well. And then extra pay eliminated. This is an extra pay. We provide a service, whether it's covering a class, whether it's teaching another class, we provide a service and we're paid for that service. It is not extra pay. Okay, I know the language is important with how you present this because of the trust thing that you're trying to eat away at, but it is not extra pay. As a matter of fact, if we were to take those two things, if you break down the minutes, it's a 29% pay cut. Okay, 29%. If you go to the minutes themselves, it is a 29% pay cut. Would any of you take a 29% pay cut to your annual salary or your per diem rate or your hourly rate? I assume not. I don't think that you would. I don't think you give up annual raises or your historical corrections. Never mind that pay cut. Every teacher in the Scranton School District signed a contract with the district with the expectation that as long as we continue to honor our responsibilities, the district would honor theirs. Well, for the last 4 years, we've held up our end of that bargain. It's time for you to hold up yours.
Next, we have Laura Christensen.
Good evening. I'm Laura Christensen. I'm a third grade teacher at Bancroft Tripp, mother of 2 Scranton High School alumni, proud member of SFT, and a Scranton taxpayer. Number 1, we need to fix Bancroft and not close it. If we need to lower the footprint, lease the administration building. Number 2, the board needs to use some common sense. We are going to spend $30,000 to recruit new teachers, plus $10,000 to get the site set up. We need a fair contract before we end school this year, 10 days from now. How are you going to attract new teachers when we have no contract? The ELAP health plan is not the best. Not even our superintendent will have this insurance. The bump stump needs to be addressed.
I don't think the school board realizes that it is not a bump step, it's a deprivation step. For 16 long years, we have to wait for a raise. We get tiny steps until this bump step. Then administrators think since teachers get that bump step, it's okay to be have their raises that are the same size as this teacher's bump step. Now it's at 20,000. Years ago it started at 7. We keep increasing it, but then the administrators get their bump step all the time. No business would give that big raise. Why is Scranton School District doing this? Well, the district claims they have no money. During a pandemic, when the school board laid off furloughed paraprofessionals and you, the school board, and Dr. Finan plan to increase taxes for Scranton residents for the next 5 years. The administration was giving plenty of raises when their raises should have been frozen. We need to redo the step salary, giving more money earlier and not wait until that 16th year. We have the $57 million from the federal government. We will be getting a few million from the city of Scranton and also money from the state in Harrisburg this summer. If they recalculate about what SSD should get, the increase of money would offset the teacher's contract. Back to hiring teachers. We won't be able to hire enough new teachers to start the new school year because of having no contract. Our district used to be the best. I knew teachers that left their teaching jobs to work in Scranton. I worked in Montgomery County and Maryland for 12 years and came back to Scranton. Now our teachers, principals, and families are leaving the district. I ask the school board, please use your common sense and pass a fair contract with Blue Cross and Blue Shield insurance for your essential workers. Your essential workers are your teachers and your paraprofessionals. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Laura.
Next, we have Suzanne Gallo.
Good evening, everyone. Neil Armstrong landed on the moon in 1969, and yet in 2021, no one at the school named after him can seem to make the air conditioning work. So on an 89 degrees day, the temperature inside my room was about the same as it was outside, and it was awful. My students were melting, and it is really shameful that they have to sit in a classroom all day under those conditions. Probably hundreds of thousands of dollars have been paid to numerous companies to work on our HVAC system, and it still does not work, and it's supposed to be replaced, now for years. I am a teacher and an employee of this district. I do not make any financial decisions. I do not appreciate the continued suggestion that the teachers are responsible for the financial mess and the solution to fix it. The financial debacle was caused by years of mismanagement of funds and reckless spending by administration and has nothing to do with the teachers. Lay the responsibility where it belongs. The level of disrespect that we have been shown, the teachers and the paraprofessionals, is incredible. And all you have to do is listen to my colleagues who have spoken, because they did a beautiful job with that. Some of you asked questions. Please continue to do so. We need our neighborhood schools. We need Bancroft School to remain open because that is what is best for our students. Despite President Biden and our First Lady and many other experts promoting the value and benefits of preschool, our very successful preschool program was cut despite the fact that it was funded with Title I money. We need it now more than ever. The water is shut off due to lead levels. Our libraries have been dismantled. Our music program has been destroyed. Accelerator Reader is gone. Graduation credit requirements have been reduced. I could go on and on. I wish you fought as hard to keep these programs as you do to dismantle them. Where is the focus on excellence and quality of education for every student? We've lost 29 teachers and counting and 2 more principals. I'm sure the numbers will increase. We are losing families who are moving out of the district. Nothing seems to matter. Our classrooms and buildings are not theaters where the goal is to fill it to capacity without one empty seat. Cramming students into buildings is not the answer. How will you assure that the students receive a quality education? Please ask those questions. They deserve a quality education with music, art, physical education, and library. Do the research. The Scranton School District has gained a reputation that no district would ever want. We have now become the place to avoid. Ask questions, go to the schools, look with your own eyes. Slashing and cutting and closing and shifting are not what our students need. They need stable, consistent schools with qualified and experienced teachers they love, which prepare them to be good citizens and provides them with the education they need to be successful in a global world. You are here to serve them. Please do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Next, we have Samantha Carilla.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Carella. My son, Jackson Carella, is a third grade student at Bancroft Elementary School. He usually gets up here and speaks and tells you how he feels as a student of what you're trying to do to his school. He feels so disillusioned by all of you. You were elected to speak for and address for our schools and for our children and for our teachers, and you're doing none of that by closing a school that is safer for our students. So I've read the review, I've read the report, and it's clear that it's really just examples of needs versus wants. Your needs are to pad the bill. You pad the bill because you want to put bathrooms in classrooms for preschool. Didn't you do? Sorry, I thought you guys dismantled that. Need to replace chalkboards with marker boards. Most of them are already replaced. You need to do landscaping on a school that's blacktopped. You need to put restrooms for faculty. That's not state requirement. Why does that? The teachers have never requested that. They'd rather see them be put into the school to have the school remain open. You're putting $96,000 into a flagpole light. To light a flagpole, $96,000. That could be put towards correcting the ventilation, doing what we need for our schools. But no, you need to pad the bill. What we want, these are wants that are required. To have schools within a safe walking distance for our families. You said last meeting, oh, we're gonna bus for now. Per previous meetings, this is a temporary solution for the busing. So you're gonna take the busing away, and now all of our children have to walk under that bridge. Would you allow your children? Would you be happy if your children had to walk under that bridge? Where trucks get stuck all the time? Where there's accidents at all times? That is not a safe environment for our children. Our wants are smaller class sizes. Why? Because our children should not be left alone and left behind like they don't matter. Should they have more teachers that are cared for and are getting the raises and getting the recognition they deserve? Yes, they should. That's a want. And that's a legitimate want. None of you are looking at anything to do with what you want to pad the bill. Our school board cares more about their raises and about their money than they do about the students and the community and the families that are ones who elected you into this position. Care. That's all we ask, is for you to care about our students and our community. Care about our teachers who have been working tirelessly through this pandemic and have gotten no recognition, have no contract, and have not had contract for years. Do you think that's fair? How would you like to work without a contract? Would you like that? No. You wouldn't want to be in this.
Please finish your thoughts, Samantha.
The biggest request that we want is for our Bancroft School to be remaining open. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha.
Next, we have Margie Holmes.
Good evening, my name is Margie Holmes. I'm a city taxpayer, proud SFT member, and Bancroft teacher. With what is being reported in the news, I ask the board to exercise patience and to vote no to closing George Bancroft and to negotiate an equitable teacher contract. Please remember, you work for the city taxpayers, not for 425 North Washington Avenue. So please stop, listen to what the public is saying, answer their questions, and then make your decisions when all the needed information is known and when there are actual physical plans set into place. I continuously commend Directors Yanni and McAndrew for thinking outside the box and asking the difficult questions. I applaud Directors Fox and Cruz for asking vital questions Wednesday night. Thank you for speaking up and pointing out the necessity to know next year's enrollment and costs before deciding to close any buildings. How can a decision of such importance be made when there are no plans? As stated Wednesday night, there is no comprehensive plan for what is the next step. On top of that, it was stated in the newspaper that there is talk of building a new elementary school. Where's the cost analysis for this? Is there a location? How much will it cost? How much will it cost to bus the students from the closing schools? Would it be cheaper to fix buildings and keep students in smaller schools? Again, research shows smaller class sizes improve growth and academic success. Isn't that what we want? We are in a position I never thought imaginable. Morale is at an ultimate low. The district's historical actions to jump the gun and make insensible decisions are causing us to lose qualified teachers, paraprofessionals, and now principals. We lost 29 teachers and 2 principals already. There are an additional 22 teachers and 2 more principals leaving in June. That's 4 out of 11 elementary school principals leaving. And there's rumor has it there are more going soon. Other districts are glad to hire each and every one of them. But where does that leave us? Understaffed with the inability to hire subs and the payment of $40,000 for a program to try to find teachers. Seriously, who is going to take a job in our district? Teachers have been without a contract for 5 years. Principals are being forced to take a new health care plan that was so well described by Ms. Holmes, okay, that they are leaving. And of course, central administration won't even agree to take the same health care plan that they have forced on the principals and are trying to force on the teachers. I believe, I totally lost my spot there. Our district is already under investigation for poor decision-making. We are in financial distress, and the past superintendent and several district employees are facing criminal charges for the lack of proper action. So I believe it is important in everybody's interest if the board just waits for enrollment numbers and all the information that isn't needed. So please vote no to closing Bancroft and working toward negotiating an equitable contract for teachers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Margie.
Next, we have Katona Miller.
Good evening, members of the board, administrators, fellow educators, community members, parents, and students. My name is Ms. Katana Miller. I'm currently a secondary science teacher at South Scranton Intermediate School, and as our superintendent already alluded to, I'm here tonight representing the district's PJS sponsors across South Scranton Intermediate School, Scranton High School, and West Scranton High School to recognize the amazing work our students have accomplished this year. The Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science is a statewide organization of junior and senior high school students designed to stimulate and promote interest in science and mathematics among its members through the development of research projects and student-led investigations. Over 6,000 students across the state of Pennsylvania compete each year in their respective regions for the opportunity to compete at the state-level competition, where only half the students are eligible. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, both the 2021 regional and state-level competitions were held virtually. Students in our district who participated in PJS began their research last June. working through the summer to develop scientific questions such as how can we reduce the space occupied in landfills? Why are you supposed to buy mascara every 6 months? How do you solve a Rubik's Cube? How does blood splatter solve a crime? And what are the effects of ocean acidification, and more importantly, why should we care? Throughout the school year, students conducted experiments, tested and developed examples, revised, retested, developed graphs and data tables, analyzed results, and most importantly, communicated those results and explained why they're important to our society. This process is not easy, especially with the changes this school year due to COVID-19. While only a third of our students were able to complete their projects, most of which were not done in the classroom, but instead the kitchens, bedrooms, and basements of their homes. But all of our students persevered, and those who didn't make the deadline are already continuing their work so that they are ready for next year. So while I'm here to list the awards for those who participated in the 2021 regional and state competition, I first want to give recognition to those who continue to work throughout this school year. Those students are, and in no particular order, Melissa Demir, Jeannie Rafferty, Isabel Eckenrode, Alyssa Holz, Emily Atenal, Alexandra King, Mila Copa, Kiara Lugo, Kalisha Massey, Madison Mayer, Jocelyn Vinciquera, Ava Roberto, and Emma Grippo. And now for our competitors. Angel Avelas Pena from South Scranton Intermediate School in the category of 7th grade mathematics for his project on the Rubik's Cube received a regional second award. Erin Carey from South Scranton Intermediate School in the category of 7th grade mathematics for her project on Rubik's Cube algorithms received a regional first award and advanced to the state level to receive a third award, both students of which was their first year competing. Ivy Newrider from South Scranton Intermediate School in the category of 8th grade mathematics for her project on equations of circles received a regional first award and a state level second award. Hope Polishin from South Scranton Intermediate School in 8th grade mathematics for her project on the law of sines and cosines received a regional first award and advanced to the state level to receive yet another first award. Emma Carney from South Scranton Intermediate School in the category of 8th grade mathematics for her project on matrices received a regional first award, advancing to the state level to receive yet another first award. Britton Banal from West Scranton High School, a 9th grader in the category of behavioral psychology, for his project on mask effectiveness during the COVID-19 pandemic, received a regional first award, advancing to the state level to receive yet another first award. Jade Lewis from Scranton High School in the category of 9th grade ecology for her project on ocean acidification, received a regional first award, advancing to states to receive yet another first award. And finally, Kaylee Butler from Scranton High School in 10th grade mathematics for her project on derivatives received a regional first award and state level first award. Congratulations to all of our PJS students. They represent the best.
Thank you, Katona.
That's our last speaker.
Can I just for 1 second, when I was in middle school at the in Scranton at West Intermediate, I participated in PJS, and I did something with light bulbs, seeing which brand of light bulb lasted the longest, and I could remember the entire experience clearly, and that was about 15 years ago. So thank you for everything that you do, and it really touches me being as I remember the experience so clearly. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Orr?
That was our last speaker.
Okay. Well, we certainly ended on a high note. Thank you very much. Mrs. McTiernan, is there anything you need to clarify that was brought forward this evening?
I believe the one thing that, I don't know if it's a clarification, but more of the administration appraisal will begin tomorrow, and that will be a 3-week turnaround. So it's really not, I don't think anybody specifically asked about the appraisal, but I know that that has been asked in the past. I also know that, I think it was stated that the superintendent would not go to ELAP, and that is not correct information. So I just want to clarify that. And I believe that's all I have, unless there's something specific you would like to
No,
comment.
but in that vein, I think it's important to note that our Act 93 agreement did include ELAP as well as our
Yeah, that is
recently
correct.
contracted.
Right, and I think it was
administrators.
stated that the administrators in the administration building are not on ELAB, and that's incorrect because many of our administrators that work in the administration building are in Act 93. So they did go over to ELAB. And then we also have 2 contracted employees that were recently had a contract, and they are on the ELAB program also. So that's just some information that we want to make sure is clear and correct information. And I will also be going to ELAB also, so just to clear that confusion up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Gilmartin, the insurance is not ELAP, it's Performance Health, is that my understanding?
That-
ELAP is just the auditor of the,
Yes, I believe that's correct. Performance Health is what is referred to as the third-party administrator. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
and Millennium is still administrating just as they do with Blue Cross Blue Shield, so any balance bill goes right to Millennium and they hire attorneys? Is that true?
That's incorrect.
Yes,
That is.
yes,
That's incorrect.
yes, that is correct.
That's incorrect.
Mr. Rowdy, is there anything else?
Specifically, there was a lot of comments about the negotiations and last best offers, and a reference that I am blindly leading this board, and I would just like to clarify that. That's not true. I think that Ms. Boland knows that I completely agree that the pay schedule is wrong. I don't know how it ever got to the point where you have a $39,000 starting salary and a $20,000 jump step. I wasn't here for that. The only person I know that was here for that was Ms. Boland. And it's incorrect, and it should be corrected. So let me just say that's not true, what I was accused of. We want a fair contract. We all do our bit. I've done my bit. I haven't raised my rates in 7 years because of the economics of the school districts. And I'm not saying you shouldn't raise your rates. We want a fair contract for everyone, but let's be honest when we talk about it. Let's not make accusations that are not true. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rowdy. Dr. Finance, do you pardon me? We have concluded public comment.
And let's show some respect.
Dr. Finan, pardon me. We will have order at this meeting. Dr. Finan, is there anything you would like to clarify about the feasibility study? I don't want any misconceptions that that is not perhaps a list that is a blend of needed improvements and also some wish list items. I think that was the intention of the document.
Thank you. I would be happy to clarify that. A feasibility study is a study of every single building, all of its working parts, including all the mechanical, electrical, everything from the roof to what's in the basement. And it is a comprehensive review of every issue that is currently either not working properly, not up to code, or needs so many repairs it needs to be replaced. So the feasibility study, which the last time one was done for Scranton School District was 2012, generally is done every 5 to 6 years in a district. And what happens, that becomes the blueprint for how the capital plan is designed and how the capital monies are spent on an annual basis. It is a long-term vision. In your case, in Scranton School District, it was very hard to put together a comprehensive view of your buildings because when we were looking at it in 2000, I wasn't here in 2017, but when the folks who were here were looking at it, it was 5 years old. And most of what was in that plan had not even begun to be done. So the plan as it exists now is not about wishes and needs and everything. It's about what your buildings need to be brought to a standard that every district expects their buildings to be at. Unfortunately, there's been a very long duration where money has not been spent on your buildings. So there are many needs. I heard a young lady tonight talk about the air conditioning at Armstrong. That's true. It isn't working. And it wasn't working, I believe, a year ago to the level it should be. But that's just one example. We're talking, I believe the total is $450 million. You don't have that kind of money to fix every building to the level that it should be fixed. So a plan, and it's true, there will need to be a lot of discussions with these folks around this table to put a plan together to see where we can move our buildings from now until the next 5 or 6 years with the money that we have available, which is minuscule. I mean, it's what do we have to do first? You all know if you had a leaky roof, you would fix that first. Because if you don't, your walls will start to collapse and your floors will start to collapse. We have that in some buildings. Those of you who work in those buildings know that. There hasn't been money put in there. So I really, it's very hard to listen to wishes and wants and need. Everything is a need in that plan. Where we move from here to be able to afford the most necessary items is a huge challenge. I am not going to tell you that it's going to be an easy task. It's going to be a very difficult task. So that is the goal of a feasibility study. It was created by people who do that kind of work, who know what electrical systems should be. We have knob and tube wiring in some of our buildings. If you know anything about that, that shouldn't be in a school building at this time, okay? So we have a lot of needs. There is one item I think I heard tonight that I'd like to add. I thought someone inferred that the folks around this table get paid. School board members in Pennsylvania do not get paid. These folks volunteer their time, both around the table, at committees, weekends, nights. They spend an enormous amount of time. And I'm always in awe of a person who is willing to put their time in to help their community, and that's what these folks do. They don't get a penny. I just want you to know, in case that misunderstanding is out there. I also want to mention that the superintendent did not take a raise this year. No one knows that. It was very non-public, but I will say that she said, I will not take a raise this year. It was a tough year, so she did not take that. There's another misunderstanding that 2 of the administrators who had adjustments that they were raises. They were just adjustments. And we've heard that over and over. Since that time, yes, Act 93 was passed, and some administrators did get a raise. But prior to that, that was a misunderstanding. I just wanted to make those corrections. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fenton. I appreciate that.
Director Gilmartin?
Yes.
I have one little question that I'd like to ask Mr. Rowley, relying on the feasibility report. There seems to be some confusion about the ability to not do ADA work on a building, but to complete other renovations or work on a building, but not do the ADA work. And my understanding is that once that the buildings are grandfathered in to a certain point, and I wonder if you could expand on that, because it's not an area of items, I understand, that we can dodge.
That's correct. A building that is untouched may be grandfathered in and not be ADA compliant, but immediately when you start renovations, the ADA requirements kick in, and all of the ADA accessibility issues need to be complied with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr?
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
9 affirmative.
And I apologize, I overlooked number 11, the motion to approve the meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2021. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
On the question? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Non-consent agenda items, budget and finance. We will have a motion to approve disposal of assets. I apologize, I'm going to scroll to the appropriate place here.
Director Gilmore, do you need to go back to have a vote on E1 that we pulled?
We'll do that when we get to that section.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry, this is loading. This may have stalled. Thank you, I've got it. Thank you very much. Thank you. As I said, B7, we will have a motion to approve the disposal of assets per the attached. I believe it is a series of lockers, 15 sections of 6 to 10-foot lockers at South Scranton Intermediate. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
On the question? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Mrs. Dempsey?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
9 affirmative.
D2, we will have a motion to approve the building reconfiguration plan presented on January 5th, 2021, which includes the following: permanently close Bancroft Elementary at the end of the 2020-2021 school year. Starting in the school year 2021-2022, implement the following: grade K through 4, Bancroft Elementary students would attend Isaac Tripp Elementary. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
On the question, Mr. Bunker, I have some questions. If this motion is voted down, then what is the status of the building, George Bancroft Elementary? Specifically, what needs to be done to bring it up to code? And what is the proposed timeline? I'm asking these questions for people who may be listening, which I assume is more than we're listening on Wednesday night, so I'm doing it for the public's.
Okay, just for clarification, it was hard to hear you. You're asking what would need to be done to bring the building up to
Well,
code?
yes.
Well, right off the bat, you're going to have to completely renovate the ventilation system in the building. You're looking at, just for the ventilation system requirements, upwards $2.5 to $3 million increase with that. Just to make that functional, you're going to have to upgrade the electrical, which will be another $1 million cost estimated. Even if you implemented that now, you still would not, more than likely would not be able to get students or staff into the building for the next academic year, just because, you know, we have to have an engineering study completed. After engineering study completed, you need design, RFPs, go out for bid, lead time on materials, and you're still looking at about a 1-year timeline on that, even if you voted today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Grayback, will you?
Good evening. Good evening. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you on Wednesday night. Once again, I'm certain there are more people listening tonight than did on Wednesday night. So what would be the characteristics of if the motion passes and if the motion does not pass for the students and teachers? And like what would be their status if the motion passes for the students, for the teachers, and then if the opposite happens?
So are you asking if the board decides
Yes,
to
that's
close
yes,
Bancroft or
yes.
to consolidate Bancroft with Tripp as one school?
I think.
I think I'm asking
Yeah,
both, the
this is-
characteristics of both.
Yes, I think.
Okay,
she's
so the
asking-
first option, good evening, directors. So as presented on January 5th at the board meeting, the same information is very similar to the current data. So you're asking about two different options. The first is combining both schools. So if the board chooses to operate Bancroft as combined with Isaac Tripp, there will be a significant cost savings when you combine sections. Combining sections will still keep classroom numbers under the contractual limits according to the current enrollment data that we have. Combining sections will also free up additional classrooms. For example, our current numbers for grade 4 moving on to the 21-22 school year, Isaac Tripp has 5 sections with 106 students each, 106 students total. Bancroft has 2 sections with 36 students, so that's a combined 7 sections. If we combine students and still stay under the contractual limit, we'll have 142 students, which would need 6 sections, not 7. So similar combinations would exist for other grades. So if we do combine both schools into Isaac Tripp, there will be a cost savings that will look a little bit different. If you choose to operate Bancroft as a school within a school and keep it as it is, existing, it's like running a house within a house. You'll have double of everything. Each school will need to maintain 2 master schedules. Each school will have to have 2 separate staffing groups and sections for each section that they teach. And each school will have to maintain enough staff to run 2 individual buildings.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Can I just clarify what, with Mr. Rucker's response? Is it your opinion then that even if we were to open the school, or we were to keep the schools separate, it would take a year to get the work done on the unit events that needs to be complete? Is that, because I'm just trying to understand and incorporate that with what Mrs. Grayback is saying. They would have to be kept separate for at least a year. That's what you're saying, it would take that long.
At a previous board meeting, it was presented that there was a January to February timeline, and that was put up earlier this year at a board meeting. Without the vote being pushed then and the requirements being moved forward, you're going to have to add the months that we've passed. So moving that timeline from the January, February up into a May, June, July of next year for the complete installation and upgrade of all this. So you're just pushing it more to the right the longer we wait.
And those uni events, they're the ones that are under investigation, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Thanks.
Is there any clarification we can provide on that? I mean, I understand, Superintendent McTiernan, that that's in litigation. Is there anything, I'm asking as a director, I'm reading about it in the newspaper. So is there, I don't even know who's investigating it. Like, is there any broad information that this board that could be provided or the public could be provided so that we understand that?
I think I can just continue to say that we continue to work with the state police and the Attorney General's office. That's who we are working with.
Okay.
Okay, and it centers around the energy savings project.
Okay.
And that's all I can say at this time.
Okay.
And I just would like to say that I am troubled by this continued line of questioning. I think we've made that very clear. I think we have tried to acknowledge to the public that this is being pursued, but I think Mrs. McTiernan has made it very clear the circumstances with which we are dealing right now. And I would really, I think we've made our positions on it known, and I would very much like to move away from that discussion and let the people who are working on that work on that.
I think what I'm unclear about is that this board, I mean, I guess I don't understand then my role as a board member, because I would think that this would be information that a board of directors would be informed about. Maybe not the public, but I would think the board should be informed of that.
And I think when
If I
that's
may.
appropriate.
If I may, we really cannot discuss this in a public forum.
Right, but why haven't we been made aware of it in private, in executive
Because
session?
we are not allowed to.
But, Mr. Audi, am I correct that you are the attorney for the board? So why is it you can't share, and you know it, and I don't know it? I work for the board, just as these people said. I work for them, and I don't know. They elected me so that I could know this information and base my decision tonight on this information, and yet you won't provide it to me as a board member.
It's not my choice. If you feel that we're withholding information that you should have, then you are free to contact the state police.
Well, that's why I'm asking who's investigating it, so I at least know
I think
that.
you've heard 3 times the answer.
So the only people who know are like you and Superintendent McTiernan, like who from administration knows what's going on? That's my question, I guess.
I think there's a misunderstanding here that I know all of this information. So what I'm saying is I, along with many of the administrators, are cooperating with the State Police and Attorney General's office, and we provide information when it's requested. But we don't have discussions about investigation, because that's not my job. So my job is to provide, when I'm asked information, I cooperate and provide that information. And at this time, I would say that what I can say to all of you is I will pass along the information to the individuals that are the professionals that are working on that, to let them know how you feel, and they can take it from there. But other than that, I'm not going to answer any other questions at this time, and I'm going to ask for this discussion to stop.
Thank you. Anyone else on the question?
On the question, I was just wondering if there was a potential for I don't know if it would be a formal update regarding the plan to potentially close facilities. I don't know if it would be a weekly or potentially like just an update on the discussions regarding what buildings are up and coming. Because for me, the feasibility study didn't say don't close Bancroft. It said that we have to close potentially more than one building, and I'm just wondering what is the potential for communication to the board, to the community regarding that plan. And will there be a formal communication, maybe a bi-weekly update, or maybe at work sessions regarding the progress of that comprehensive plan?
Sure, I think we can set all of that up, Dr. Condon. I think that is the intention as we move forward here, to talk through this process, perhaps present a plan and a vision and understand the goals therein and bring it forward for public comment. And I think we can set some kind of realistic timeline. I like the idea of regular updates, whether they're bi-weekly or monthly, or, we know these are the 3 dates when we're going to hear about this plan. I think that's a great idea.
So I'd like to add to what President Gilmartin just said. I often get referred to as the person who decided to do the feasibility study, or it's my feasibility study. It's not my feasibility study, okay? My job was to put a plan together that would get you to a sustainable, move the Scranton School District from the distressed financial condition it's in to a sustainable condition in 5 years. That's what the recovery plan does. I've been tasked with looking at how do we get there. Well, because you didn't have a current feasibility study, that was one of the very first things we did after we toured the buildings. We said, well, yeah, sure, that boiler doesn't look like it's working, and of course, the maintenance employees told us it wasn't. But what do we do about that? Or, gee, the air conditioning doesn't work in Armstrong, but what do we do about it? Well, there was no plan. So my task is to put together the system, if you will, a plan, write a plan, and that's why the feasibility study was done. Yes, it was on, with my recommendation, and of course you voted on it. Now we have the feasibility study. It's still in draft form, by the way. I checked today. They're still working on some of the minor pieces to it, but it's still in draft form. We did talk about, at the operations committee, we kind of focused on Bancroft, the last one, but we talked about having, setting up some committees, some committee meetings. This is not something that you do overnight, okay? I mentioned, I think it's 450 million, if my memory serves me right. You don't have 450 million. You will never have 450 million while I'm alive to be able to put into your buildings. That being said, there's another piece. When I wrote the recovery plan, in that it talked about capacity. You have capacity in your buildings. You have empty seats. What that means is there are empty seats in buildings. So if you don't have enough money to fix every building and everything in the feasibility study, choices have to be made. And those choices are, where do we put our money? Where do we put all the money that we have? And how can we do it? Again, this is not a 1-year fix. It's not a 2-year fix. It's not a 3-year fix, because you can't possibly do all that kind of work in a short period of time. So we will have to take this step by step. We will have to have more information from our engineering firm who composed the study, because we'll want to know some of the very things that Ms. Cruz just asked about, timing, for example. Everything in construction, if you haven't done it in your own home, you know costs more and takes longer than you were ever told it would do. So we have to, everything, of course, when you're dealing with public funds, has to be bid, has to be procured according to the law. So when you talk about a plan, I could give you a plan tomorrow, but then that would be my plan. That's not your plan. I will help you through looking at where we are and looking at everything from your boundary lines, because that'll have to be looked at. The empty seats, I believe, Ms. Hume, it was 1,638 available seats. A little over 1,600 in the elementary schools are available.
This year, there's 1,325 empty seats. Next year, with the movement of the 5th grades to NEIS and SSIS, there will be 1,638 empty seats. And in 2022, when the movement of 5th grade to West Granton Intermediate School is complete, there will be 1,943 empty seats. That will still leave the elementary schools at 64% capacity, which means that 1 seat in 3 is empty.
Right.
And even with the movement to the intermediate schools, when the whole of that movement is finished, and the 5th grades are all in the intermediate schools, the capacity of the intermediate schools in 2022-23, that will also be at only 76%. 1 seat in 4 will be open. We rationally, it's like 2 people living in a 30-room house. You can't use the space effectively, and we still will we have so much excess capacity. We have capacity in 2022-23. We have capacity in our elementary schools for 5,275 students, because Bancroft will be unavailable due to whatever the decision tonight is. Bancroft will be unavailable, and we will have so many empty seats that at each of the schools, you can go down each single school. The only elementary schools that are close to capacity are Whittier. Prescott will be down to 70%, which is at the moment fairly big. And the other one is, she says, hastily searching for figures, Sumner, which will then be down to 81% after the adjustment of the 5th grades moving out. So we have so much excess capacity within the district, and each empty seat that we sustain is money that could be going to improve the academic outcomes. We are looking at this at the moment in terms of facilities and money. I'm looking at it as I do the analysis of the figures in the terms of the additional academic and educational services that we can bring to our students with the money we save. This isn't about buildings and stones and bricks and mortars and electric bills and lights on flagpoles. This is about the fact that we have to steward our money and spend our money wisely. And when we're spending money, maintaining and improving, spending capital costs on buildings that are not particularly suited to whatever you think of each individual building, we have too many of them. The money we save goes to help improve the educational outcomes for our students. That includes our teachers, who are crucial to the educational outcomes of our students. We just have too many extra seats, and I don't know how, without a vision for the future. I know my vision for where I'd like to see the Scranton School District in 5 years, and I know my vision for where I'd like to see the Scranton School District in 20 years, which I don't think I'm going to be around to see. But I know visually where I think we should be in 20 years' time. And with the excess capacity we have at the moment and predictions of falling student numbers, we have to take informed choices that, in my opinion, need to be data-driven.
So to answer your question, Ms. Dempsey, yes, this will have to be a lot of discussion and a lot of decision-making. And to Ms. Hume's point about vision, the vision is in the future is not going to be the 11, 3, and 2 that we have. Perhaps the 3 and 2, intermediate and high school will remain, but 11, again, with 1,600 empty seats, we have to reduce that footprint so we can then put the money into those buildings that we have, because they need a lot of money, and we have a finite amount, but we do have some money that we can put into those capital. But again, that will have to be discussed with the board. It will have to take on a lot of discussion, and that's what your workshops are going to need to be used for, and your committee meetings.
If I might just say, Dr. Finan, at the Operations Committee meeting, which was held last Wednesday night, at which I probably provided a great deal of data that was maybe a bit much, but you should see what you were spared. We talked at that meeting about the final feasibility report being published on the website, being made available to everybody. Subsequent to that, it's the intention of the Operations Committee to hold 3 meetings, essentially for everybody to attend all 3 if they wish, but 3 meetings focusing on the areas of each intermediate school. So that, for instance, there's the 5 elementary schools that feed into NEIS, the 3 that feed into South Scranton Intermediate School, the 3 that feed into West Scranton Intermediate School. And as that is a kind of rough geographic dissection of the district as a whole, if we have 3 meetings to allow people to bring forward what they believe is a priority out of the feasibility study, what they believe should be the future of the elementary schools in that area and the intermediate schools, what they believe the district should be spending its money on. And we would hope to have those meetings before the end of June, which will give us the input from the public to start the discussions on what I quite like calling the master plan. And that is what it is. And then, of course, there'll be subsequent discussions with the public about that. And I'm sorry that taking that, but I think it's important to understand that we are going to be seeking systematic public input from all stakeholders before any plan is voted up or down.
But I do want to caution us all from scheduling on the floor. I think that's something that, I think we're talking about a combination of things here, and I do think those focused meetings on the geographic areas, I think the timing of all of this, I just know that those things can change and evolve, and I don't want anyone to expect to hear something within 2 weeks that turns into 4 or 6, or, so that would be my only caution there. But I think, Director Dempsey, to your point, there will be opportunity for public input, and I think also just simple updating of the progress on the internal side of things would be helpful as well. So do we have anyone else on the question?
I'd just like to finalize my statement here on this, because I know we've been discussing it since January. I want to say I came in here tonight really wanting to get on board with this. I see the data that Director Hume has presented, and I thank her for all of her research on that. I do understand that there's reasons that we need to close schools. So I'm trying very hard to get on board. I have concerns about, you know, we moved 5th grades. Then we decided on Bancroft. I feel like maybe we're kind of doing it in pieces rather than presenting the whole plan. So that's what I would like to see moving forward. And if this vote passes, I feel like we do need to work to set timelines, to hold administration accountable to updates if it is weekly. We need that. The community needs that. I mean, I don't want to see anybody in this community go through another 6 months of dragging something like this out. I think it's too difficult. I have serious concerns about the loss of Mr. Emiliani, as TRIP's leader. I don't know what's going to happen now with that, so I would like updates on that as well, how we're going to address that and integrating the Bancroft students there, because they're obviously going to be there for at least the next year, whether we close it or not. So I think we do need updates on that. I think for me to make this decision, I needed that information, and we've been asking for it, and we're getting it, but we're getting it slowly and in pieces. So I'm looking for that overall plan of how we're going to do this so that we can so the board can work with administration to effectively do it. I feel like I don't have all those pieces when I'm told I can't know things. But when that plays into why we chose Bancroft, because I went on that tour and I was told it's because of their systems there that don't work, that we looked at Bancroft. So, I mean, I need all the facts to make this decision. So that's where I'm going to leave it at that.
Director Yanni, can I clarify something there, please?
Director Hume, Director Fox had a question over here.
Sorry. If I could just, I promise you very quickly, I just have 3 quick points. I do have a full question, though I'm not sure who to address it to. I'm not sure if everyone was able to check their email. We received one 20 minutes before executive session from a teacher at ITE. Last meeting, I did talk about a plan I would love to have in a dream world, which obviously in Scranton, right now, we're currently very far from dream world, which I hope by the time I'm finished here, we're a little bit closer. But the email that we received, talked about things that, being as that we are currently, we currently have the Bancroft students in ITE and not, you know, as 2 separate schools. There have been negative impacts that do not benefit both schools, such as this teacher said we no longer have an art or music room and students are losing time from their specials. Bancroft students' academics have been negatively impacted by timing issues, and both have lost out on gym. It says since Bancroft has come to ITE, we have lost the gym, the library, and the LGI room. In the past 7 years, we have used these 3 rooms for recess. Since Bancroft has come to our school, the gym always has class in it. The LGI room currently has 4 ESL teachers in it, and the library has 4 Title I teachers in it. So students could no longer utilize any of these rooms for recess. What happens for recess in the fall when we have students back in school on rainy or snowy day? So my question is if somebody could address, just as Sarah's question in terms of staffing, I would like it clarified that if this building were to fully close Bancroft, that the students would appropriately fit in Isaac Tripp, and then if we kept things the way they are now, that it would be in this way where students are suffering and not receiving everything that they should receive. And then I do have follow-up to that, but that's just, I don't want to lose my spot.
Hi, Director Fox. I'll be happy to answer that to the best of my ability. So when the whole change happened, with both Whittier Annex and Bancroft, and it was a last-minute change that had to take place due to COVID. We had to come up with a plan, and due to Mr. Miliani's phenomenal leadership and his staff, and the union support, and Nora Phillips and Bancroft staff, they were able to make adjustments that were temporary. So your question, or the email that came through, is a temporary situation that we were forced to make the best out of a really tough situation. Moving forward, if, whatever the board decides, we will be looking at a more permanent situation now that we have time to plan. As I said earlier, the enrollment at Bancroft is such that it's small enough to be absorbed in some of the existing sections that currently exist at Isaac Tripp, which means we don't need as many sections, so that there will be an availability of about, don't quote me on this, when we talked about the numbers, 5 to 6 potential open classrooms, because some of the numbers are significantly smaller in Bancroft. So if we take our smaller enrollment numbers and separate them into the existing sections that exist at Isaac Tripp, we can technically reduce some of the sections that we need, thereby freeing up those spaces. Before Bancroft moved over to Tripp, some of our specialists were using not only small rooms, but regular full-size classrooms, because they were available. So in thinking about where we can best place our Title I staff at the time temporarily, we thought it would be best to place them all together in the library, as they're all teaching the same content and they can collaborate and coordinate with each other. Again, a temporary situation and a temporary solution to a problem that we did not foresee. So moving forward, if it becomes something more temporary, Mario and Nora have already been meeting with both Mr. Rucker, Mr. Puglisi, to talk about a more permanent arrangement, because we do realize that Bancroft is going to need time and attention should it be considered to remain open. So they are making those more permanent plans so that people are not displaced. As far as the gym is concerned, that was used as a temporary solution because of social distancing. We had to store furniture in the gym. So with the weather being nice, I mean, we got to be flexible here, folks. And I mean, our staff is very flexible in the things that they've been able to do, but we did have to store furniture in there so that we could spread out the desks and kids would be able to maintain social distancing. Again, another temporary solution for a problem that we did not anticipate on having to handle. Library, we talked about Title I, we talked about gym. Was there another room that you talked about in the email?
It just says gym, library, and LGI room.
So the LGI was turned into a room where all of our ESL teachers are able to share. Again, they teach the same common content. They're all ESL teachers, so it made sense to utilize that space, which was really an unused space. I, having been a principal and been a teacher, we've used that space for large professional development meetings. So it was really an underutilized space, and now it's being currently used where all of our ESL teachers are able to do small group instruction in a large room. As far as the music room, I think you also discussed, that's being shared, co-shared by, I believe, our 5th grade teachers at Bancroft. They were willing to do that. Mario was, and Nora Phillips were proactive in asking the staff if they would be willing to share not only the music room, but also the art room. Again, a temporary solution to a problem that we had to solve and come up with an answer to in a short amount of time.
Yes, thank you. And I don't even think it was coming from a criticizing point, more of a clarification point moving forward, because if for example, I said in a dream world, if we could leave everything the way it was right now with not fully closing Bancroft, is it accurate to say that you said that they're looking for more permanent, but there won't be enough room if we do not permanently put the 2 schools together, because we won't have that section available as you stated. So then we'll still have similar issues where students have lost gym or library, or these timing issues might be, I'm sure, something that could be worked out better if they're one cohesive unit. Is that correct?
Agreed. It was a very hard decision to come up with a huge plan to combine 2 entire schools in a 2-week period,
I'm sure.
Which was basically what happened. So being that we are able to meet weekly and put some thoughtful, purposeful decisions into what we have to do moving forward to accommodate our family from Bancroft in the Isaac Tripp facility, those discussions are taking place currently, and they have been and they will continue to do so during the summer to make sure that we can accommodate a more permanent solution to this problem for however long it will last moving forward next year. I can't make all the promises, but I do know the reasons why those specific locations that were addressed in your email were selected.
Director Cruz, can I piggyback off of what you were just asking regarding how many sections of fifth grade at Bancroft and how many sections of preschool at both Bancroft and?
Well,
how many classrooms are being utilized by like Bancroft fifth grade and the preschool at both Isaac Tripp and Bancroft?
I couldn't understand your question.
I know. How many classrooms are being utilized by Bancroft's fifth grade class, and how many classrooms are being utilized by the preschool programs at both?
Excellent. So there was an available room on first floor which had a bathroom, so Mr. Miliani selected that for preschool. George Bancroft is the regional Northeast location for the Northeast students to attend preschool, so there's one preschool classroom currently being used, and there are currently 2 fifth grade classrooms at Bancroft, but they're currently sharing the music room. There's 2 sections of fifth grade for Bancroft, but they're sharing one large space right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I had a separate, but it's not to you, so
Can
somebody else.
May I just give Director Fox a little more information on that, which I think is quite pertinent for everyone. At the moment, Tripp has 619 students, which is 62% occupied. Next year, and Bancroft will be staying there next year, no matter what our vote is, either tonight or in the master plan. There will be 790 students, which will be 79%. It's really good when it's 1,000 students because it's easy for me. But there's 79%. But that sounds like a lot of people. But A, it's not as many as at Whittier or Sumner or Prescott. And secondly, in 2012, when the original feasibility study was done, or the last feasibility report was done, Tripp was at 82%. So it's not like the students in 2021 are going to be any more students up there than were there in 2012. And it functioned very well there, and it will still have 20% excess capacity. The good news about that is that in 2022, that will be a 1-year period during which I'll have a 79% usage. The following year, when the 5th grades go to West Scranton Intermediate, and I suspect some of the others there may have to be some, as with Whittier, some address reallocation. Tripp will then, in 2023, go down to 660 students, which is a 66% occupancy rate, which again is 1 seat in 3 being empty. I don't know if is now an appropriate moment, President Gilmartin, for me to make that comment I was going to make before?
Yes.
One of the issues here seems to be there is a conflation between the discussion of the closure of Bancroft as a need, as identified both in the PFM report of 2018, December 2018, and in the recovery plan of August 2019, to close.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have had public comment. Please refrain from shouting out from the audience.
Okay, I'll begin again. In December 2018, an initial report from PFM before the district went into recovery on the 4th of February 2019, there was a report which stated that there was a need to close schools, that was recommended that schools be closed, and the 3 schools that were named as potential candidates was, the most potential candidate was Bancroft, the Whittier Annex to close, and either Morris or Prescott. In that discussion I was part of the Facilities Reallocation Configuration Committee, Reconfiguration Advisory Committee, that was discussed. In March of this year, when the issues were raised about ventilation for the district to return in hybrid, the reason that Bancroft did not reopen was nothing to do at all with its potential candidacy as one of the schools that might be considered for closure. That was a separate issue, and the reason that the ventilation issue was not to do with the discussion of Bancroft as a potential reduction of footprint candidate, but it was to do with a safety issue. And Director Yanni, I think it's been not particularly helpful that we're conflating those two, because there is an issue about discussing the closure of Bancroft, and then there was the ventilation issue which caused the immediate movement of the Bancroft people to Tripp. And I think that we can't sort of say, well, we've got to fix the ventilation issue is a contributing factor to the decision to close Bancroft or not close Bancroft, because Bancroft was considered in December 2018, not named in the recovery plan, but the recovery plan is very clear that subject to further information, the schools named there may change, and that we are not helping ourselves if we conflate these issues. The second thing I'd like to say is the students at Bancroft, the fourth grade will not go back to Bancroft, the fifth grade will not go back to Bancroft. The current fourth grade will finish its year at Tripp because we won't be able to reopen the building for that time, and they will move on to whatever intermediate school their address suggests. The fifth grade will move this September. The third grade has been in that building for the third grade in September 22 would have been in the building for 1 year, 2 years and 7 months. The second grade would have been in Bancroft for 1 year and 7 months and been a Tripp for longer than that. The kindergarten going in would never have been in Tripp. The current kindergarten, the first grade, would never have been in Tripp. The kindergartners going in 2021 will have never set foot in Bancroft. I'm sorry, I'm getting muddled, it's getting there. What concerns me about delaying the vote tonight is that whatever master plan is put forward, it will not change the fact that in the Northeast Intermediate School feeder area, there are 5 elementary schools. Neil Armstrong was going to have, the plan is, we've approved the capital expenditure to fix the air conditioning. There is no question that Neil Armstrong, which is a modern school opened in 1969, Scranton Modern, will be there. That leaves 4 small intermediate schools in the Northeast area. There is Bancroft, there is Adams, there is Morris, there is Prescott. Prescott has 300 capacity, Bancroft has 300 capacity. John Adams has 400 capacity, Robert Morris has 450 capacity. The seats down there, Robert Morris in 2023 will be at 43% capacity. There is no question that out of those 4 small, closely located Northeast Intermediate schools, the closure of some of them will be part of the master plan. I think that is just irrefutable logic, because you cannot keep 4 schools open in NEIS and reduce the footprint by closing schools in South or closing schools in West, where they have 3 elementary schools in South, 3 elementary schools in West. Logic dictates that the changes will start, and they're not going to finish, but they'll start in that area. It is extremely likely that in the master plan, the uncertainty about Bancroft will continue. I think we owe it to the students at Bancroft, who will not be able to go back to their school realistically till September 2022, who will have been out of the school by that time, when the school's closed. They've been out for a year. They'll have been out for 2 years and 4 months. I believe it is unfair to leave them with the uncertainty going into September of not knowing whether they may be relocated again, whether they will or they won't. I think that realistically, we can say, let's have a master plan, but let's look at the fact that the likelihood that that master plan will include changes to at least one of those 4 schools. And the criteria are very clear. Size is one of the criteria, age is one of the criteria. Bancroft is one of the 2 smallest schools in there. It has 300 students, and it will have a student body of 175 students in September 2022. Prescott is also 300 students. It's very small, but it is much more modern. It is 40 years approximately younger than Bancroft. I think that being realistic, we can say, well, we didn't know this, but we can't conflate the ventilation issue, which caused the immediate emergency closure of the school, with the prospect of the fact that it was under consideration in December 2018, it remains under consideration. I apologise for this, but I have gone through the data on this again and again and again. I have ranked schools according to the factors that were named in the criteria. I have ranked them on student numbers, I've ranked them on empty seats, I've ranked them for my own benefit, to make sure that I was making a data-driven decision that wasn't emotional. And every time that we come through this, the school that comes up with the most likely candidate for consolidation is Bancroft. I do not think that that will change in a master plan. And I think all we would do were we to delay yet again a vote that we wanted to take in January, that some people didn't want to take and we postponed it, then people wanted to take it in March and then they didn't want to take it. All we are doing is like cutting the puppy dog, it's cruel to cut off the puppy dog's tail, so let's cut it off an inch at a time. These students deserve to know where they're going to be at school, not next year, not in 2021, but in 2022. And I do not see how any master plan would not come up with that. And I will now go back to my spreadsheets and data, and I am very happy to post, if anyone wants to look at it, I don't know where it would be appropriate to post, but I'm very happy to post, not my opinion, but the objective data that I have compiled by digging through all the information available.
Director Hume, could I get back to my question? Are you okay at the moment?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Hume.
Thank you. Yes, I do appreciate all of your data, and I think that it being available for the public would be very beneficial. I have one question and one. I'm going to have a question for you, Dr. Fenton, with this. After public comment tonight, it has, I guess, made it very clear to me. I know last meeting I was. It was like pulling in my heartstring a little bit, everything that was going on. But as was spoken tonight, we are, by the community, we are in financial distress. There's air conditioning not working. There's been a loss of library, music, accelerated reader. We need to focus on quality and excellence of education. Teachers won't submit their resumes here. There could be higher taxes for 5 years. We became a place to avoid. Students need stable, consistent schools. Remember, you work for the taxpayers. There was an article by the Scranton Times in April of 2021 that said Scranton property owners facing rising school taxes and possible future hikes bear the heftiest tax burden in Lackawanna County for the 3rd year in a row. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and the people in the city are suffering. And I've come to realize that even though we might have some very, very hard decisions to make, the reason why we're at is because decisions haven't been made in a very long time. And no matter how hard they might be for us as individuals sitting here, we do have to keep the students, the taxpayers, the teachers, everybody in mind, and make the most sound decision that we think is best at this time with the data and information we have available. But after hearing all of these comments, they're so true and correct, and there is no way we can change the situation, everything that was brought forward to us, if we don't change anything. We don't have the money, we're over $300 million in debt, and we're severely underfunded. It's not going to come from anywhere, and we have to find places to sustain ourselves from. Dr. Finan, based off of the vote tonight, can you just recall once the procedure after the vote? You report it to the Department of Education, correct?
I really need someone to, could you tell me what that question was again?
Yes, I'm sorry. So based off of our vote this evening, you have to submit the result to the Department of Education?
Oh, yes. Yes. Anything that is listed in the recovery plan, when action, if action needs to be taken or board action needs to be taken or decision is made, I do have to report everything that I do to my superiors at PDE. So I will be, and on a monthly basis, I report a summary of everything that happened. So if that's is that your question? Do I?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yes, I do have to report it because it is The reconfiguration is about reducing the footprint, reducing again. I'm back to, you have 11 elementary schools feeding into 3 intermediate schools, feeding into 2 high schools, with empty seats and with not enough money to repair all of those buildings. And as Mr. Audi said earlier this evening, that you don't even have ADA compatible buildings. And that law was passed in the mid-'80s. So anytime we start to repair these buildings, we have to make them handicap accessible for everyone, whoever wants to come in. Maybe a grandparent wants to come in to view a program that their grandchild's in. We have to have those buildings, all the buildings, compatible. We can't say just because you're in a wheelchair you have to go to this building. So that costs a lot of money. And so, yes, I would have to do a report, and I do them on a regular basis. If that was your question, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I know I combined the two. That does answer my question. I'm just, it feels as though sitting here as a board member that we're not truly making progress in your plan, and it worries me just because we did not make progress in financial watch, and that's why we're in financial recovery. So
well, it's been the slowest part of it so far.
Yes, I know we're making some progress, but in the big scheme of things, we're not making the larger steps that we need to make in adequate time. Is it correct that from PFM, I'm not sure, that if we don't make any changes within 5 years or so, we would have a negative fund balance of 25 million? I don't want to directly quote anything, but no. Okay.
I know what you're saying.
No, okay.
Catherine is asking about the 5-year projections.
Oh,
that if
we
we do nothing, we wind up with a $25 million deficit.
Correct. Yes, we do. We do have that, and we do have the 5-year. Yes, and that we talked about in March, if you recall.
Yes.
Yes. So yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's all I had. Simple.
Thank you.
I think that kind of piggybacks on what I was wanting to ask. A few weeks ago, we were told if we, didn't vote on this, you would report it, and we possibly would, go into receivership. Now you're telling us that after this feasibility study, we're going to come together and we're going to come up with our plan, like the board's plan. So is it, for one saying we have to follow what you're saying and what's written in this plan, and now you're saying we're going to come up with our own plan for the next buildings.
Wait a minute. I am here, I'm the consultant, and I'm advising you, and I've given you a 5-year plan. Okay, it's very clear, step by step to follow to get to sustainability, which means you can do everything on your own. Where receivership has come like little droplets. Maybe we're better off in receivership. Trust me when I tell you, you are not better off in receivership. No one who lives in this community would want to see receivership. And if you think you would, dream again. It is not good for a community. Not good for businesses. It's not good for...
If you get lawyer tone, but I didn't say anything about I want to go in receivership. I was just saying, you're saying we have to follow this and we do this. If we don't do it, you're just going to get reported and we'll possibly go into receivership. Now, all I'm asking is, why can't you guys come up with a plan for all the buildings? Figure out how, there's going to be more schools that you want to close. Come up with a comprehensive plan now that the feasibility study is done, and then we can vote on it. Instead of piecemealing it and doing it backwards, and then, it's like the same episode every other day. It's like, come up with a plan.
You'll have a plan. We can have a plan for you. But I want to repeat about receivership. Yes, if you don't follow the recovery plan, you could end up in receivership. That's never been something that I've ever threatened. You will never hear me threat. That is not my style. I'm a person that works through a plan, and I'm showing you the way, and I've said it from the beginning. You must reduce your footprint. We began a long time ago when you heard the timeline that Ms. Hume went through. A long time ago, we visited buildings. Under every circumstance, Bancroft does not survive. It's not large enough, it doesn't have enough core spaces, it doesn't have enough parking, it doesn't have a big playground, all the things that you've heard the last couple meetings. We will have a plan. You have a feasibility study now, and we will have a plan. I think it's unfair to the people who work in Bancroft to not give them a decision. I think the term that Superintendent McTiernan used, the Operations Committee, was kicking the can down the road. We've kicked this can down the road multiple meetings. I'm just saying that if I worked in a building and I didn't know what was going to happen to it, I'd rather know than not know. But we've been talking about this for a very long time.
And I think it is time to make a decision. So if there is nothing else.
I'd just like to say one final thing, if I could, in closure, to build on what Director Fox said. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and I agree with that. But I think what I've been asking for all along is the transparency. And I think it's something that everybody that I ran here with to be elected to this position was to be transparent, to put as much out to the public as we can, and give the board as much information as they can get so that we can make the right decisions. I think that's all we've been asking for through this whole process. So, like I said, I walked in here tonight, I want to be on board with this. I understand what Dr. Feinen's saying. I don't think it's fair to this community either. I still don't even know how I'm going to vote right now because I'm trying to get all the information that I want, and I feel like I've had to continue to ask for it to get it. So I think that's an issue that we as a board need to address.
Director Gilmartin, if I could just add one thing, and then I will be very brief. When we first were tasked with this, obviously we were put into a position where there was work that was done. Then the new administration came in. And all I will say is all along, one thing we have been is very transparent in the word that we said was, this is phase 1 of this project. We must have said that numerous times. Now, the board is requesting, because that's what you are to do of us, the board is requesting that the next phase would be more comprehensive. No problem, we can take care of that. But all along, phase 1, and no one here can say that you've never heard that, because I have said that over and over and over. Dr. Feinen has said that over. When we were tasked with this and how are we going to attack it. And then a pandemic hit. And then we talked about additional buildings, but at that time we didn't feel comfortable with that decision because we lost so many students. So at that point, again, we were back to phase 1 and presented that. Many of you are not happy because you want an all comprehensive one. You're asking that after the fact. What I'm asking for tonight is we will continue to work on that comprehensive plan. We just need a decision tonight and a vote tonight on whatever the board decides. We will move forward tomorrow and we will continue our work. We now have a directive from the board. From what I'm hearing is you want a more comprehensive that involves the whole plan. We are working on that. So thank you, because that's what you are supposed to do for us, is give us a direction. We understand you didn't like it when we do it in phases. We get it. We'll move forward. But we need to move forward for the people of Bancroft and the Bancroft community. We need to make a decision. We need to have a vote tonight so that we can fulfill our timelines of what we need to do as a district. So I'm requesting tonight that we move forward with whatever that vote is and allow us to move forward so that we can make sure that we have staffing in place, students where they need to go, and so on and so forth, so we can do our job. And moving forward, I hear you, we all hear you, you will have a more comprehensive plan when we move on to the next thing. But I don't want to continue to say, because we all along said, this is phase 1. So we all knew that there was going to be a phase 2 because we have said it numerous times. Thank you for letting me say that.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
No.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni?
No.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
7 affirmative, 2 negative, motion passes.
Thank you, Mrs. Orr. And thank you, everyone, for your passionate discussion here this evening and for moving forward with these difficult decisions. But as Director Fox said, I do think they serve a greater purpose here. So thank you all for your hard work. will have a motion to approve, it is D3, motion to approve the Pennsylvania Department of Education required 520.1 emergency instructional time template. Every school district in the state of Pennsylvania is required to submit the 520.1 emergency instructional time template. This document is for emergency purposes only in the event a school district has to convert from full in-person learning to a hybrid learning or remote learning approach. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew.
Yes.
Mrs. Welby.
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni.
Yes.
Ms. Cruz.
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey.
Yes.
Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Ms. Hume.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
9 affirmative.
D4, we will have a motion to appoint the following student representatives for the 2021-2022 school year to serve on the Scranton School Board of Education. From Scranton High School, we will have Jean Rafferty, and from West Scranton High School, Tyler Michael. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
Katie, can you just describe, just because most of us haven't experienced this before, how does that work with the student representative?
I think that's something we are going to learn as we go.
Okay.
Because we do have a policy governing it, which does explain the role a little bit. It is a non-voting position, but it is an opportunity for us to gain the student perspective, and I think also for the students to learn a little bit about the workings of a school board. But I hope that in the coming weeks, before we start up the school year again, we can maybe sit with this young man and young woman and have a conversation about their goals, our goals, and the expectations of the role. And I am just delighted that this has been such a student-centered meeting tonight. I think to celebrate our new teachers, to celebrate our students' achievements, and now this is something Ms. Hall knows, we've discussed this policy existing for quite some time now. So it's very exciting for me to sit here and see that this is finally coming to fruition, and it will be a pleasure to get to know these students and to work with them. Anybody else on the question? And thank you to the principals for working to identify these students and working through the application process. So thank you very much for that as well. Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Mr. McAndrew.
Yes.
Mrs. Welby.
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni.
Yes.
Ms. Cruz.
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey.
Yes.
Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Ms. Hume.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
9 affirmative.
D5, we will have a motion to ratify the members of the Reopening Advisory Committee. We have added, at a previous meeting, we approved our members, that's the word I'm looking for, pardon me, and now we are appointing the following members in addition to those to the Reopening Advisory Committee meeting. Our secondary principal will be Mike Montoro. Our elementary principal will be Brandon Budd. Our elementary teacher, Laura Sosik, and our secondary teacher, Caitlin Walsh. And we are also appointing Director Ro Hume as chair and Mr. Matt Barrett as co-chair of the Reopening Advisory Committee. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
I know I'm not supposed to be talking on the question, but I just want to let everybody know that they've been a great asset, and they really give us a unique perspective as we continue to plan to reopen. So I just want to thank all of them for volunteering again their time to serve on this committee. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just briefly, Director Gilmartin, it is extremely interesting to get to hear teachers, parents, taxpayers and other people, and they hone in on community concerns in a way that sometimes we don't see. They ask a lot of good questions, they ask some tough questions, it's been very collegial, and I am very proud to work with these people, and I will be giving a fuller report on our meetings to date at the work session.
Thank you. And Mr. Audi, I assume this can be a yay or nay vote? Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay. Anyone else on the question? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We are jumping back up to E1. We will have a motion to approve the following organizations which have requested to rent Scranton School District facilities for the summer of 2021. Lifeguard Training West Scranton Intermediate Pool at $40 an hour. Lackawanna Babe Ruth Scranton High School Baseball Field at $50 per game. Equines for Freedom Scranton High School Parking Lot. And Riverfront Sports Complex Scranton High School Gymnasium. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
On the question?
On the question, I'm just going to abstain from voting as my husband is a volunteer coach and board member with Lackawanna Babe Ruth.
Thank you. Anyone else? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni?
Abstain?
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Eight affirmative, one abstention, motion passes.
E2, we will have a motion to award the athletic training contract, athletic training services. Forgive me, we have two options on here. I will read both options, and then is there a recommendation from the administration? We have option 1, award contract for athletic training services to Geisinger Orthopedics and Sports Medicine per attached proposal. Current contract allocates $25,000 in marketing cost offsets that would be included in this contract. The financial impact for 2021-22 is a total of $52,809 with that $25,000 considered. 2022-23, $54,534. 23-24, $57,570. Option number 2, we would award the contract to the same organization per the attached expanded proposal, adding a third trainer and an additional 850 hours of service to cover intermediate schools. Proposal allocates an additional $28,000 in marketing cost offsets that would be included in this contract. The financial impact of 2021-2022 is $53,564.50. The next year, $56,777.50, and the final year, 2023-24, $60,085. Mr. Laffey, I see you've approached the microphone.
Sorry about that. Yes, we'd like to recommend option 2. Option 2 gives us the ability to add a third athletic trainer, an additional 850 hours. You'll notice that Geisinger has proposed an increase in some of the marketing offsets. So we'd like to ask permission to continue to negotiate that based on the availability of space in the district's advertising plan. And from a budgetary perspective, I budgeted $75,000 for this service. So even by adding the additional trainer, we are covered.
Very good. Anybody else on the question? So may I have a motion to consider option 2?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Anybody else on the question? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Mrs. Yanni?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey?
No.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
8 affirmative, 1 negative, motion passes.
Mr. Audi, we didn't need to do that as an amendment in any way. I just want to make sure that this is
No, that's fine.
correct. We're okay?
That's
what
fine.
we did? Okay, thank you very much. We have E3, a motion to approve Johnson Controls to provide fire system and master clock inspections and service for a period of 1 year, starting on 6/8/21 and ending on 5/31/21. The financial impact is $46,940. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr?
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Jani?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
9 affirmative.
E4, we will have a motion to approve Greenman Peterson GPI to provide survey and civil engineering services for the Isaac Tripp Elementary School drainage project. The scope of the work will include a topographic survey and construction sketch. The cost is $1,900. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
Is this the area, President Gilmartin, where we had the photographs previously where the small sinkholes appeared?
Is this the same?
Mr. Rucker? I don't know. Is this?
This is, yes.
Hey there, Director Hume. Yes, this is in regards to the supposed sinkhole behind Tripp. It was found not to be a sinkhole, but just an area where the water was running down into a low spot. We're looking to have this engineering study to confirm that and just to give us a path moving forward how we correct it.
Okay, thank you. I just was concerned it was a second one, but
No, it's the same.
thank you.
Good news. Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr?
Mrs. Dempsey?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Jani?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
9 affirmative.
I'm sorry. One moment here. Oh, yes. Yes, because that would be ending after. Yes. Mrs. Orr, can we just note that there is a typo on E3? Starting on 6/8/21 and ending on 5/31/21, which would be a nifty trick. So it should be 5/31/22. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't notice that. Thank you, Mrs. McDermott.
Actually, thank you, Ronell.
Oh, thank you, Ronell.
Can't take credit for something I did not do.
E5, we will have a motion to award the contract for school physician services to Geisinger Orthopedics and Sports Medicine per attached proposal, 2021-22, $15,000, and 2022-23 and 23-24, the same, all with $200 per hour rates where applicable. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? I believe in the past we've had an explanation of the $200 an hour. If memory serves correctly, we expect that the contract takes care of this. That's just sort of a stopgap, should we need it.
That's correct. The contract calls for 300 hours of service for the general student body, 10 football games, 40 hours of physician services at football games, and 20 hours of school nurse services. Anything above that would be billed at the $200 per hour.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr?
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Jani?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
9 affirmative.
F1, we will have a motion to approve the personnel report as attached. We have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second?
Second.
On the question?
On the question, this is where I would usually make a statement offering well wishes to those entering and exiting the district. I do congratulate the new hires and appointees, and I do thank those who are leaving the district for their years of service and dedication. But I feel compelled to say more than just that tonight. At our May 3rd meeting, I voted no on the Act 93 agreement, citing those who had already left and my concern that there was more to follow. 35 days later, it saddens me to look at the names on this list, knowing we are losing 2 more exemplary leaders, and wondering if the losses will continue. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Mrs. McTiernan, we do have 2 new positions on here. Can you tell us a little bit about those 2 new roles?
Certainly. The first one is the cyber. Right now, we have an assistant principal at West Scranton High School who is doing double duty. He's running our secondary cyber program, our APEX program, and also serving our students at West Scranton High School. That's become a daunting task, and in order to, we believe, start an elementary program to have a K-12 cyber program, we believe that one individual needs to own that program. A big part of that is going to be recruiting our students back, hopefully getting as many of those kids that left our district to go to other cyber charters back into the district, along with starting up a elementary cyber program, which will be brand new to our district. So that individual that is listed tonight for board consideration will oversee the new K-12 cyber program. The other program is one we are so excited, we're really excited about our cyber program too, but the other program is we are so excited to have the opportunity to start a STEM program within our district. The individual that is on for consideration tonight, I can't tell you enough about her. She's extraordinary. I was the lucky one that was able to work with her. And I truly believe there were days when I was having bad days and I would just go sit in her classroom so that my day could be brighter. So that is a program, again, that will take time to develop. The individual will come in and develop our STEM program, decide what grade level we will start this program and build the program from ground up. So again, there's a lot more to this than that, but this is really exciting. We feel that this is a program that once it's up and running is going to definitely attract students back to our district because of what that has to offer. It will be unique to our area, and I can't wait to see how, if the board considered this and gives us a yes, I can't wait to see where we go with this. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, but that's just a general overview of where we are.
Thank you. I think just to speak to the financing for these positions, certainly you touched on the desire to bring some of our cyber students back into the district, and it is the hope that that would support this role. And also, I believe we've discussed ESSER funds for the STEAM Academy in the short term.
Correct.
And that there would be federal title dollars that we already have that could be reallocated for that use if we feel this is a program that we want to take beyond the 3 years that we have the ESSER funds.
Yeah, that is correct.
Of course, that's the expectation.
Correct. And again, bringing students back, that's not money lost. And again, we have a plan, a reconfiguration plan, as we continue to consolidate buildings. Obviously, for example, tonight, I know Ms. Grieback spoke about staffing, and with regards to Bancroft and Tripp, right now we have 2 principals and a vice principal that will be assigned to that building. So obviously now with the consolidation, that will be 1 principal. So where there's positions lost, that is where we're identifying, as we move forward, what we need or the decisions we make, what is it that we want for our kids. So rather than having 2 principals with 2 buildings, we're now going to have 1 building for those individuals, which frees up an administrative position. So as we move forward, all of those plans are in place. But the cyber position alone, if we're able to get those students back, that's money saved. So yes, to answer your question, and I don't know if I mentioned Title IV funding right now, which we receive, is an option as we move forward also for the STEM program director.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to note, that STEM program is part of the recovery plan.
Correct. Thank you.
Anyone else on the question? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Ms. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
9 affirmative.
If you don't mind, I would just like to recognize Katona. Katona, I'm so glad you're on my team. Thank you. I think I know that this is your dream job, so thanks.
To me, that's the most exciting part of the recovery plan, is to develop that STEM program.
Absolutely. I-1, we will have a motion to award the contract for fresh fruit and vegetable program services to Smart Partners per the attached proposal.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew.
Yes.
Mrs. Welby.
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni.
Yes.
Ms. Cruz.
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey.
Yes.
Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Ms. Hume.
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin.
Yes.
9 affirmative.
I-2, we will have a motion to award the contract for food service equipment repair and preventative maintenance to K&D Factory Service. The preventative maintenance fee will be $11,904, 2021-22. Going forward, $12,082 and $12,263. The labor rate is $98 an hour, growing to $100 an hour in 23-24. Parts markup list plus 10% throughout the contract, and the overtime hourly rate times 1.5 on holidays and weekends. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please, Mrs. Orr?
Mr. McAndrew.
Yes.
Mrs. Welby.
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni.
Yes.
Ms. Cruz.
Yes.
Mrs. Dempsey.
Yes.
Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Ms. Hume.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin.
Yes.
9 affirmative.
Thank you. We have any new business this evening?
One item, President Gilmartin.
Yes.
We received in our packet information about the insurance program for the Chromebooks,
Yes.
which is a system that is starting. I think you can sign up now. I think there is a closure of the window where you can sign up. I wonder if Julie Malloy, if she's here, could just briefly explain that to us, and we can get the word out as soon as we can.
Sure.
Because I think it's a great innovation. And one of the questions I wanted to ask is there any way that families in financial distress who can't afford the insurance, is there any way we can possibly find a way that people can apply for, I'd happily donate some to a fund to provide insurance for families who are financially unable to do so. But Julie, if you could just help us get the word out about your extremely interesting program.
Sure, we sent it to the schools. The schools are all posting it on their social media. We posted it on ours. Sorry, I was doing a lot of screaming at the softball game today. We're gonna get it out as much as we can to all the families. There was a question raised about whether or not this could be covered with ESSER funds. We're looking into that. I don't know the answer to that. But we'll do everything we can to get it to as many families as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
How much is it? It's 15.
13 or 19, depending on what option you choose, with theft or without.
Okay, and that would cover, if you pay the $13 and it breaks, you're covered. And if you pay the $19 and it's stolen or broken, that covers it too.
That is correct, for up to 1 year. And then if it is broken and you return it and they send you a new one, your warranty extends to the new device that you received. So it is for a full year, from June to June.
Thanks very much indeed.
No problem.
Wait, Mrs. Molly, I have a question for you. Does the district have insurance on the Chromebooks, or?
We have the original warranties that are on the Chromebooks. This is in addition to, because the warranties are limited, like you see with the variety of things that you buy. Okay? Anybody else?
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just super quick, I know we all want to leave. Pennsylvania is for fair funding. I know we're all talking about fair funding, and I think tonight is a real eye-opener that we really need to put more focus on what we can do. I know a few directors have mentioned it this evening. While we were sitting here, I had my email open obviously for the meeting. Pennsylvania is for fair funding, so the situation with education funding is quite fluid as we come. Oh, sorry. The situation on education funding is quite fluid as we come up on the budget deadline at the end of the month. One very exciting piece of news is that there is a $3 billion surplus which can be utilized to close the equity gap that exists in PA education. This could be done without tax increase. Please help make fair funding a reality by making 2 phone calls or writing 2 emails to state senators. Bonus points if you also tweet. So, and also I'm sorry that I wasn't talking to the microphone, but I think this is good news knowing that we can really advocate right now for this. And then also the art contest that we talked about before was extended, so hoping we can all push more of this out. And I think right now it's very vital to our conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Now is the time. This is budget season, so.
Yes.
We've got to get going.
Get some of that surplus.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you all again for a very comprehensive discussion this evening. I appreciate everyone who came forward and spoke about the concerns we all share this evening, and especially the members of the Bancroft community. I know this has been a difficult transition, and I appreciate that they are being open to their new home and new experiences, and that the family at Isaac Tripp Elementary is welcoming them as well. But I just want to reiterate the fact that the sacrifice of that neighborhood camaraderie is not lost on anyone on this stage. And you know, we certainly have to make responsible and forward-moving decisions here that may not always be popular or enjoyable, but I want to continue to work to strengthen our communities beyond our schools and make sure that we are forging strong partnerships with our community organizations to make sure that as we consolidate our buildings and try to have a more effective mode of operating our district, we are making sure that we fill in any of the gaps that may be created, and remember that our families and most importantly our students are the individuals we are here to serve. So we will continue that hard work, and I truly appreciate everyone who has come forward to voice their concerns and share their thoughts on the matter and continue to support the students at Bancroft through this transition. So thank you all very much, and with that I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.